Did you know that 65% of people remember stories better than facts alone? That's right. Our brains are wired for storytelling. In fact, studies show that storytelling activates parts of the brain that help us feel emotions. This means a well-told story can make your audience feel joy, sadness, or even fear. Now, here's another eye-opening fact. According to a report by the Duke University Center for Advanced Intelligence Research, stories can influence decisions and actions up to 22 times more than just facts and figures. So, if you want to connect with your audience, learning how to tell a great story is essential. In this video, we'll explore powerful techniques that top storytellers use to grab attention right from the start. We'll cover how to spark curiosity, create rich layers of meaning, and make characters relatable through their flaws. Plus, you'll discover how to use sensory details and unexpected twists to keep your audience on the edge of their seats. Get ready to transform your storytelling skills and learn how to hook your audience like never before. Let's dive in. Chapter 1: The Power of the Opening Scene. Invoking curiosity, not answers. Great storytellers know that the beginning of a story sets the stage for everything. But instead of giving answers right away, they invoke curiosity. Studies have shown that humans are wired to seek answers when presented with uncertainty. In fact, a study published in Psychological Science found that curiosity is a strong motivator. It's what keeps people glued to a narrative. Take Breaking Bad as an example. The opening scene shows a man in his underwear driving an RV through the desert, with unconscious bodies in the back. No explanation is given. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Viewers don't get clarity immediately, but they're hooked by the confusion. Similarly, in Story, Robert McKee emphasizes, curiosity is the greatest force on earth. Storytellers who know how to spark it understand that questions drive engagement. A good storyteller doesn't need to introduce their protagonist with a detailed biography. Instead, a moment of conflict, confusion, or mystery pulls people in. Try starting your story with a question, a bizarre event, or an unusual image. For example, instead of saying, "John was a farmer," try, "John stared at the burning field, wondering if he could ever return." Leave your audience wondering, why is the field burning? That mystery creates a mental gap, and humans naturally want to close it. Chapter 2: Storytelling in Layers. The art of subtext and what's not said. What separates a good story from a great one is often what isn't said. Subtext, those underlying meanings and emotions hidden beneath the dialogue, adds depth to a narrative. In The Godfather, for instance, when Michael Corleone says, "I'll make him an offer he can't refuse," the words are simple, but the subtext is chilling. You understand there's more at play, a subtle threat masked by politeness. Subtext is essential because it engages the audience on multiple levels. According to research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, people are incredibly adept at reading between the lines, even when they aren't aware they're doing it. Storytellers who master this can create narratives that resonate deeply. The key is to give the audience just enough to keep them curious while letting them fill in the emotional blanks. In Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen uses subtext brilliantly. Elizabeth Bennet's dialogues with Mr. Darcy seem ordinary at first glance, but every word carries unspoken tension, desire, and misunderstanding. A practical tip for using subtext is to focus on what your characters don't say. For example, if a character is scared but trying to hide it, they might respond to a question about their well-being with a flat, "I'm fine." The words tell us nothing, but the audience knows the truth lies beneath. It's this depth that hooks your audience and keeps them invested. Chapter 3: Relatable Imperfection. Flawed characters, perfect connection. Perfect characters are boring. That might sound harsh, but it's true. Studies from the Journal of Consumer Research show that people are more likely to relate to and root for characters who are flawed. Imperfections make them human. In storytelling, characters with struggles, flaws, and personal challenges are the ones audiences connect with most. Think about characters like Tony Stark, Iron Man. He's brilliant but arrogant, often creating more problems than solutions. His flaws make him real, and that realism makes him compelling. It's not his perfection that hooks the audience, it's his vulnerability and growth. Brené Brown, author of Daring Greatly, talks about how vulnerability is key to connection. She says, "Vulnerability is not winning or losing. it's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. This same concept applies to storytelling. When your characters show their weaknesses, they become more relatable. The audience sees themselves in the characters' struggles, and that's what pulls them in. So, when crafting your characters, focus on their imperfections. Let them fail. Let them struggle. This doesn't make your story weaker, it makes it stronger. People don't remember flawless heroes. They remember those who fell and got back up. Let your character's flaws be the key that hooks your audience emotionally. If you're enjoying these insights, don't forget to subscribe for more tips on storytelling. Chapter 4, The Rule of 3, Rhythm, Repetition, and Resolution. The rule of 3 is everywhere in storytelling. Why? Because our brains love patterns, and the number 3 feels satisfying and complete. Think about classic fairy tales, the 3 little pigs, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. They follow this pattern to perfection. The idea is simple. When you present something 3 times, it feels more natural, more memorable, and somehow right. A study published in Cognitive Science found that people are more likely to remember information when it's grouped in 3s. In storytelling, this rhythm creates anticipation. The audience knows that after the 3rd instance of a pattern, something important will happen. This is why many jokes use the rule of 3, too. You set up an expectation with the first 2 instances and then flip it with the 3rd. The punchline lands, and it's memorable. In his book Save the Cat, Blake Snyder emphasizes how the rule of 3 also helps with story structure. He says, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, setup, conflict, resolution. This is the heartbeat of any great story. It's a classic format, but one that works. Using 3 acts ensures that the story flows in a way that feels complete. When you're telling a story, think in 3s. Whether it's 3 key moments in a character's journey, 3 main conflicts, or 3 repeated actions, this rule creates a rhythm that keeps the audience engaged. It's a simple tool, but one that can make your story much more powerful. Chapter 5, Sensory Immersion, How to Pull Viewers into Your World. Great storytellers don't just tell you a story, they make you feel it. And one of the best ways to do that is through sensory immersion. When you engage your audience's senses, they become more emotionally invested in the story. Think about your favorite movie scene. Chances are, you can vividly recall not just what happened, but how it felt, the sights, sounds, maybe even imagined smells or textures. Neuroscientists have found that when people read or hear sensory descriptions, the same areas of the brain are activated as when they experience those sensations in real life. This means when you describe the smell of fresh coffee in a story, your audience's brains are simulating that sensation. That's the power of sensory storytelling. In The Art of Dramatic Writing, Leos Egri says, emotion cannot grow from abstraction. It must come from the senses. You want your audience to experience your story as if they're living inside it. That's what keeps them hooked. To do this, focus on more than just sight. Don't just tell your audience what things look like. Describe the feel of a cold breeze on the skin, the metallic taste of fear, or the muffled sound of distant thunder. The more senses you engage, the more immersive your story becomes. And when your audience feels like they're part of your story, they won't want to leave it. If you found these storytelling techniques helpful, make sure to subscribe for more valuable insights and tips.